A reading of the statement of facts from the criminal complaint against Cunningham Joseph Gionet, aka Baked Alaska, from FBI agent Nicole Miller. Now I will read from the statement of facts, word for word. Your affiliate is a special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation (FBI) and have been so employed since 2019. Prior to being employed with the FBI, your affiliate was a special agent with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement from 2016 to 2019, and a police officer with the Kissimmee Police Department from 2010 to 2016. During that time, I have investigated kidnappings, homicides, bank robberies, felony in possession violation, domestic terrorist investigation, and threat to life violation. I have prepared and assisted in the preparation of court orders and search warrant applications. Additionally, during the course of these and other investigations, I have conducted or participated in physical and electronic surveillance, assisted in the execution of search and arrest warrants, debriefed informants, interviewed witnesses and suspects, and reviewed other pertinent records. Through my training, education, and experience, I have become familiar with the efforts of persons involved in criminal activity to avoid detection by law enforcement. I am assisting the investigation and prosecution of events which occurred at the United States Capitol on January 6, 2020. Note from reader. This is obviously a typo. Next line, she corrects it. On January 6, 2021, a joint session of the United States Congress convened at the United States Capitol, which is located at First Street Southeast in Washington, D.C. During the joint session, elected members of the United States House of Representatives and the United States Senate were meeting in separate chambers of the United States Capitol to certify the vote count of the Electoral College of the 2020 presidential election, which had taken place on November 3, 2020. The joint session began at approximately 1 p.m. Vice President Mike Pence was present and presiding in the Senate chamber. With the joint session underway, and with Vice President Mike Pence presiding, a large crowd gathered outside the U.S. Capitol. Temporary and permanent barricades surround the exterior of the U.S. Capitol building, and the U.S. Capitol Police were present and attempting to keep the crowd away from the Capitol building and the proceedings underway inside. At approximately 2 p.m., certain individuals in the crowd forced their way through, up, and over the barricades, and officers of the U.S. Capitol Police and the crowd advanced to the exterior facade of the building. At such time, the joint session was still underway, and the exterior doors and windows of the United States Capitol were locked or otherwise secure. Members of the U.S. Capitol Police attempted to maintain order and keep the crowd from entering the Capitol. However, shortly after 2 p.m., individuals in the crowd forced entry into the U.S. Capitol, including breaking windows. Shortly thereafter, at approximately 2:20 p.m., members of the United States House of Representatives and the United States Senate, including the President of the Senate, Vice President Mike Pence, were instructed and did evacuate the chambers. Accordingly, the joint session of the United States Congress was effectively suspended until shortly after 8 p.m. Vice President Pence remained in the United States Capitol from the time he was evacuated from the Senate chamber until the session resumed. Based on the information I have reviewed, I estimate that between 2 p.m. and no later than 4 p.m., Cunningham Joseph Gionet, also known as Baked Alaska on social media platforms, entered the United States Capitol building without authorization to do so. While inside the Capitol building, the defendant conducted an approximately 27-minute-long live stream video on the quote-unquote DLive platform, noting that he was quote-unquote documenting the event. The video was later captured and posted to YouTube and Twitter, where your affiliate viewed it. In the video, the defendant and the individuals he is with can be seen in the United States Capitol building, can be heard chanting, "Patriots are in control," "Whose house? Ours house," and "Traitors, traitors, traitors." The defendant can be heard remarking, "1776, baby. I won't leave, guys. Don't worry." At the 2-minute 52-second mark in the YouTube video, the defendant, who is live streaming the events from his device, turns the phone around to show his face and is clearly identifiable. The defendant is a known social media personality and is thus recognizable. At the 7-minute 6-second mark on the YouTube video, the defendant approaches an exterior window and is offered a hand to exit the Capitol building. The defendant remarks, "I'm staying," and remains in the building. At approximately the 9-minute 40-second mark in the YouTube video, the defendant can be again heard remarking, "We are in the Capitol building. 1776 will commence again." At approximately the 12-minute 40-second mark in the YouTube video, the defendant can be heard remarking, "Unleash the Kraken. Let's go." The defendant is repeatedly heard encouraging other protesters not to leave. At the 15-minute 45-second mark in the YouTube video, the defendant enters an office in the Capitol and interviews others. At approximately the 17-minute 45-second mark on the YouTube video, the defendant picks up a telephone and asks a purported phone call with the United States Senate personnel. At approximately 18 minutes 5-second mark in the YouTube video, the defendant shouts, "America first is inevitable. F globalists, let's go." At approximately the 21-minute 10-second mark in the YouTube video, the defendant remarks, "Occupy the Capitol, let's go. We ain't leaving this be." At approximately the 19-minute mark in the YouTube video, the defendant enters another office. The defendant sits on a couch and places his feet on a table. The defendant encourages others not to break anything. At approximately the 25-minute 26-second mark in the YouTube video, law enforcement officers ask the defendant to move, at which time he identifies himself to them as a member of the quote-unquote media and asks where he should go. At approximately the 26-minute 35-second mark in the YouTube video, the defendant audibly accuses law enforcement of shoving him. No shoving can be seen on the video. He remarks to law enforcement officer, "You're a effing oath-breaker, you piece of S. F you," approximately 4 times. "You broke your oath to the Constitution," quote unquote. The defendant exits the Capitol at approximately the 26-minute 55-second mark on the YouTube video. Based on the foregoing, your affiliate submits that there is probable cause to believe that Anthony Joseph Gionet violated Section 1752 of the U.S. Code, which makes it a crime to knowingly enter or remain in any restricted buildings or grounds without lawful authority to do so. Based on the foregoing, your affiliate submits that there is also probable cause to believe that Anthony Joseph Gionet violated Section 40 of the U.S. Code 5104, which makes it a crime for an individual or a group of individuals to willingly and knowingly utter aloud threatening or abusive language or engage in disorderly or destructive conduct at any place in the grounds or in the Capitol building with the intent to impede, disrupt, or disturb the orderly conduct of a session of Congress or either House of Congress or the orderly conduct in that building of a hearing or any deliberations of a committee of Congress or either House of Congress, obstruct or impede passage through or within the grounds or any of the Capitol buildings. F, engage in a physical in an act of physical violence in the grounds or on any of the Capitol buildings, or G, parade, demonstrate, or picket any of the Capitol buildings.